Welcome back, everybody, to the third day of the Fox Winter Tech and Risk Days. I know it's been a fulfilling couple of days already, and we've got two more to go. Starting us off today, I've got an announcement. We had one group that was scheduled for this afternoon, ABR, Advanced Business Resources, who's had to cancel. So if you signed up for that session, that's not going to be there. Instead, we've moved Asset Vantage, who was at the end of the day, to that time slot. So 1:30 will now be Asset Vantage. All right, but I would like to introduce to you a group that I am working with closely from Fox. Certainly have had a lot of communications and participation with this group over the past year. Armanino. And I'd like to welcome John Stewart. John.
Hey, Kent. Thanks for having us here today. We're excited to be here. Hi, everybody. I'm John Stewart, partner here at Armanino. I run our family office industry nationwide, and I have a star-studded panel here today with my colleagues. We're going to get into it. We're going to dive into some of the technological tectonic shifts, let's say, that we're seeing now in the family office space and how those are actually kind of moving rapidly in some places too. So we're going to get into AI, cybersecurity, operational efficiencies, modern SaaS software, all kinds of different topics. But before I get into that, let's do some introductions. So I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Lindy. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, John. Thanks, Kent. Lindy Antonelli, partner at Armanino, and I head up our technology consulting practice for family office, namely on the financial management platform side. So tech tools all in the cloud these days that help family offices with their scale, growth, and success.
Awesome. And Carmel, let's go to you. I'm going down the line here. I know it's always a different order on everybody's screen, but you're next. So Carmel.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, thanks for having us here today. Really looking forward to being on the panel and chatting about this. I am a partner here at Armanino also. I am the partner in charge of AI analytics and automation for Armanino. So, lots of exciting stuff happening in that world right now. We're certainly learning something new every day, and excited to share that with all of you. And I've been working closely with John and Lindy on family office for a while now, and we're seeing lots of traction.
It's not new. Yeah,
not
we like
new.
to be
Yeah,
first.
it's great.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
Cool. Thanks for being here, Carmela. And we'll go to another colleague, Mark. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Mark Knight, I'm partner in charge of the cybersecurity and data privacy practice at Armanino. Excited to chat with everyone about kind of current events, whether in politics or just geopolitical or whatever else.
And your world gets to butt up against that a little bit, huh? That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for being here, Mark. And then last but certainly not least by any means, JC Santos, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, John. Hi, my name is JC Santos. I'm a director in the family office group here at Armanino. I focus on a lot of what the folks here are doing in terms of the bill pay, the reporting, the expense management, concierge services. So I get to work with a lot of our clients in that way, which is a lot of fun. And I also get to help Lendy when it comes to technology implementations for any of the family offices. So it's good to be on that side. Prior experience, I was a vice president, head of client treasury and reporting at Iconic Capital, which is an RAA. So looking at it from that lens, I've been on the other side and thinking through technology implementations and what to do with various families. So looking forward to this discussion.
Awesome. So thank you, JC, and welcome. I'm going to kick it right here. We're going to start with you, JC. If anybody was on this a couple weeks ago, we're kind of refreshing, but we're going to do it in a different order, and we're going to try and ask it a couple different questions. But
Sure.
So JC, I want to start with you. You did mention you sat on the other side of that table, right? I always find that a fascinating perspective, right? To me, it's voice of the customer. It's critical. We can't do our jobs great if we don't have that. So to the audience, let's use some of that. So what advice would you give a family office leader who has either principals that are hesitant or they're hesitant to adopt and embrace some of these newer technologies? How did you look at it when you were on the other side, and what kind of advice would you give this audience?
So I think one of the things that you're looking at with when you're a leader is thinking through what resources do you have? How do you maximize the tools that you already have in place? And so that could be technology, that could be people. And I mentioned this last week, but the greatest strength that I feel like people that you have are your people, right? Making sure that they have the family's trust, making sure that they have your trust. You know what they're capable of, and you want to maximize what they're able to do. Technology can allow you to do that because you can look at the low-hanging fruit. You can look at the processes that you can repeat. How can you become more efficient? How can you minimize errors? That's a big thing. I'm a former
I think that's a
tax,
critical thing in most family
yeah. I'm
operations,
a
right?
former tax professional, so I used to talk about fat finger mistakes. It's really easy to make transposition errors, especially when you're tired or things of that nature. If you can leverage technology to do that as an aid, it's critical. That being said, I know that it can be a bit, how should I say this? It could seem daunting or intimidating at first, especially with the wealth of things that technology could do. I would say don't try to solve everything, in one fell swoop. Try to look at where the low-hanging fruit is, where you can
Mhm.
maximize, the benefit with the lowest amount of effort.
I love that, Jason, because I think you're keying on something, right? In a very simple way, it's about operational efficiency. And I'm an old strategy and ops guy, so I look at operational efficiency, right? And for those who don't know me, and I think JC, you keyed on it. We say people, process, technology. We say it in that order for a reason, right? It's not random. And you're right, the people part's first. And we have to keep our people because it's hard to keep people these days, right? And so process, really strong, efficient processes and really great technology complements helps do that, right? Not the only two things, but certainly helps do that. So Lindy, let's go to your side now. And let's talk about, can you share examples of maybe some specific tools or platforms or use cases that that you've noticed have dramatically improved operational efficiency at family offices? I know you get closer to the technology, particularly in the Sage Intacct arena. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, John, we see today most family offices are either on a legacy platform of some kind, an old Great Plains system, an old Sage, or QuickBooks, and they're learning and seeing that they can make huge impacts to their people, which we were just talking about, by moving to a new financial management platform. So we're a very top partner of Sage Intacct, and we see that as the flavor, publisher partner of choice when family offices are considering moving for many reasons: multi-entity, security, scale, the platform itself, and the open APIs that can integrate with many, many other areas that a family office is looking for, such as bill pay and secure transaction processing, etc. So while we're a Microsoft Inner Circle partner, we support that platform. We're a Salesforce partner. We support that for vendor relationship management for family office. But really, Sage Intacct is the platform we're seeing family offices are moving very rapidly toward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say it kind of wins all the bake-offs pretty easily.
Yes.
They did a good job designing for it. I think you're right. It gets to the operational efficiency right away. And I know you and we hear the QuickBooks and you brought that up. When I hear QuickBooks, that's a great thing to manage expenses, but it doesn't manage wealth. So if that's all you're using, you're missing. You're already missing the target, right? And that's where we come in and can help with some other types of technologies too that we can bolt around a Sage Intacct to help them actually have a better view of the actual wealth, not just expenses. So let's shift into that a little bit. Carmel, let's have you come onto the stage. Pretend we have a stage. You come onto the stage. You and I have worked together for years, and particularly in the topic of AI and automation. Can you speak to the efforts that you're seeing in AI and automation and how they're translating and impacting the family office space?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's across the board right now. We're all doing more with less and trying to be more efficient in lots of ways. And I think JC really hit on it, right? The automating a bad process is just making bad happen faster. So we don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
And I think, if you're looking at creating those efficiencies and some of the stuff that Lindy talked about in terms of, your ERP system, what we also find is that we can fill gaps with AI solutions that any of your platforms have. So AI is platform agnostic, will play with anything. And so,
Yep.
if you're seeing areas where you're like, well, we love this, whatever the software is, but it doesn't do these 4 things. Let's go talk about, can AI sort of fill that gap and allow you to take advantage of the things that work really well in those base systems and not do a manual process outside of that. And so that's we see a lot of traction there across all industries actually, but family office particularly. I think one of the things that is super important is to keep costs down and make people's lives a little easier in this time. And the do more with less isn't going away. It's just getting bigger.
I'm still recalled back to a time where we, you and myself and the team, we've implemented a bot at a very large family office / foundation here on the West Coast. And I still remember when that financial analyst gave us a hug. Because it was the first, and what did she say? Remember, I never have to touch this stuff again.
Yeah, I mean, we saved her 700 hours a year. If you think about that, that's an incredible amount of time that somebody's manually doing something. And I think part of what we see too is that we've got really loyal people in family offices that love the families and want to stay there and they don't want to leave. And they've been doing something the same way for years. And they don't know how to reimagine it. And so having someone come in and sort of facilitate that conversation, like, listen, AI is not going to take your job away, but people that know AI really well will.
It's like when Excel came out. If you didn't know how to use Excel, you were going to really struggle to have a job.
Right.
Can you imagine going into a job now and not knowing how to use Microsoft? It wouldn't really go well.
Right. And so it's just a reimagining of how I'm doing my work and where I get to go spend my time, right? And we want people to spend their time on value added activities that are super meaningful, both to them and to whatever business they're in this case, the family office, right? And so getting rid of some of those things that are mundane tasks and repeatable that you can use a bot for, or some sort of AI, those are really great candidates. And I'm going to echo what JC said. We're not going to install AI and it's going to solve all of our problems. And we're going to start with the most complex thing we can think of. That's not the way to begin, right? The way to begin is go take some small bites of the apple, get some momentum going, get people excited about it.
Get them used to using it. It's a new tool. That's what it is. You got to get used to how to interact with it. Yeah.
Have the people come give you a hug, and then now you have the momentum and you can keep going, right? I think
that's exactly right. Yeah.
I'd say that's true with any technology platform, whether it's AI or whether it's, the accounting platform or an expense management solution. I mean, take small bites, take small steps, the crawl, walk, run type concept, the phased approach.
This is not an overnight idea. And if it is, a lot of things are probably going to go wrong. So maybe don't. Yeah. Well, because you're right. So that's one of the concerns is, hey, go slow with this. Have a roadmap, right? Create a roadmap. It can be 3 to 5 years. This is not something you have to do in the next couple of months, but it is something you should learn about and figure out how to adopt it. So that's one of the fears is, hey, I don't know how to do this quickly. Well, you don't have to do it that quickly. Another fear we always hear is security, right? Well, what if I have these agents and what do they do? And so, Mark, I know in the area of cybersecurity, that comes up a lot, fear, right? Because that drives a lot of it, I would imagine. Can you speak to how cybersecurity is helping create that calm, maybe, that principals and leaders in family office need, and how you see it at your end?
Yeah, one thing to think about with all of the the advent of ChatGPT and all of these large language models, if you aren't implementing AI in your processes and procedures, your employees are, without your knowledge, right? They're going out and they're using these tools on personal devices, on their work devices. So whether you like it or not, these things are here. You can block them at work, but people are going to have them at home. Give your teams a way to use them appropriately. What does that mean? Have policies. Have a structured plan. Don't go at this in a haphazard way. Have a structured plan for what are you using as an organization? Where should they put sensitive data versus non-sensitive data? I mean, non-sensitive data, if you're looking to make a restaurant reservation, totally fine to go out and use the public ChatGPT. But if you're looking to analyze some financial data, make sure that you've provided a workspace within one of these platforms that is dedicated specific to your organization.
Right. There's ways to do this where it's secure, right?
Yeah, it's secure and it's not it's not training the overall model. It's not going to be easy for someone from the outside to get in. It's ideally locked down in a way that has a higher level of authentication into it. So it's really important as you think about these AI tools. One, people are going to use them. And two,
Yeah.
it's on the organization as a whole to have a structured plan for how it gets rolled out and providing those tools. It doesn't have to be wildly expensive to at least dip your toe into AI.
I
You
think
can
that's the
go
one thing I love
way
to
off.
dispel is that this is not an expensive idea. Yeah.
Right. You can go way off the rails and do a lot, and it may be worthwhile, but you need to have a structured plan in place.
Yeah, I
Well, and
love that.
let's just elaborate on that for 1 second, because I think
Dive
it's
in, go Carmel. Love it.
so I love that we're talking about this. And Mark's 100% right. And also, I want to just tell you, you get Copilot, the web version, if you buy M365 licenses. So you're
Yeah,
using,
it's already there.
it's there and it's secure. So
Yeah.
you can tell people
Right.
to
It
use
doesn't
that
touch the
today.
outer internet, right? It
That's
stays
right.
within your environment. Right.
That's right. And so it will go look at the internet and pull information in. It does not push information out, so it's not training anything. It's in your graph and in your tenant. And so it's I don't want to call it free because it comes with your paid licenses.
It's a feature, not a bug.
That's
Yeah.
right, for all of the Office Suite products. So if you go to Edge and type in Copilot, you'll see it today. So if you need a safe place for people to go that you're already paying for, that's a really nice option.
So, okay, so now let's open up to everybody and just jump in with this one, because this kind of speaks to what all four of you touch and help with clients. ROI, right? That's the next thing comes up. Great, John, great Carmel, great Mark. I appreciate it. Okay, I'll go try it. But, and we got them past all that. And they're like, well, what's the return? Well, I know it can be fairly obvious sometimes, but sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's a little harder to measure. Or if we start with those low-hanging fruit, depends what they are. Can you all speak to, if you're on this journey, if you notice a leader on this journey and they're not seeing that initial ROI maybe that they expected, what's the advice you give them? How do you help them determine, measure, and capture that ROI so they can see that, hey, this is actually benefiting us? And I'll start with Carmel, but really everybody chime in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're actually seeing this a lot, right? So people are turning on AI and assuming that everyone knows how to use it and just going, well, but I'm not seeing the benefit. Well, that's really hard to do, because if you're just letting people have a free for all, I was at a conference recently where somebody said, we turned on social media and it happened to us. Now we have an opportunity to guide how AI is going to work. Let's use it appropriately. So
I think we should take that moment, really, looking back. I think we should.
Exactly. But this is an opportunity for us to, and yes, we're seeing it. It's pervasive that we're turning it on and expecting it to solve all these problems for us, but really, no, we're not seeing the ROI that we thought. I think there's two things in that. One, it was sort of a myth that when these generative AI, sort of came to light and became much more widely available, that it was going to solve all these big problems. That's not what is actually happening. We're actually seeing that it's solving small problems, but a lot of them. And so if you actually have a rollout plan and a training and a way to train people to identify use cases that are that you can measure the efficiency gains there, then you can start actually building that ROI, and you can use that model over and over and over again, because you're identifying those use cases, you know what the outcome is that you're looking for, and then you can determine whether or not you're getting that output.
Makes sense. And then I see a question come in, so let me insert that while everybody chimes in. Kristen out in the crowd says, have you helped small family offices in this area, and how small? And I would say it goes down pretty low. It's not like there's really a hard rule here. Kristen, to answer you directly, I think easy for us to say we've gone down to small family offices of 50 million in investable assets or more. That's easy to say. There's probably some examples below that too.
Yeah.
Because we don't just stop there. But the technologies we're talking about really are fairly economical, and you scale it to what you need. So it ends up like kind of being an appropriation for what you can spend, kind of thing. Is that fair, Carmel, Lindy, Mark, JC?
Yeah. And I mean, I'll tell you that we have some offerings around AI and how to get started on this that are as low as like $5,000. So they're very inexpensive, and you're getting tangible results with that. It's not just like, oh, I gotta, okay, great, that's really nice, you showed me a shiny piece of paper. You're actually in there doing stuff for those types.
Right. And what I'm hearing you say, and then Mark and Lindy and just I want your opinion, like, it's not the what It's not what we should do with AI, it's how we're doing it, right? What you're
Yeah,
saying is it's the how. Like people are messing up the how. And that's what we're
exactly.
not seeing
Yeah.
anymore, right? Which, yeah, so jump
Exactly
in
right.
here, JC, go ahead.
So I want to think through, like, when I was on the other side, some of the things that I would measure would be like time savings, right? Like FTE is this acronym that everyone uses for a full-time employee in terms of like what are they doing, how much time are they getting back? Things like reducing incident reports was another thing that I would have at an RAA, right? Where you got to make sure how many mistakes were happening. But irrespective of that, because those things are important, when you're leading a group, you're thinking about career arc. You're thinking about how these folks are going to be happy. How
Good
are you
point.
going to build skills for them? And are they going to be happy with what they're doing? Because it's just as difficult to replace someone as it is to, bring in this new technology, quite frankly, right? There's like a new learning curve for people you're training. And so what I've found is that the technology allows people to have a more dynamic career because they get more choice. They get the ability to choose where they're going to further provide value within the family office structure that you have. So I think those 2 points shouldn't be lost. One, those operational efficiencies, absolutely key
Yeah,
metrics.
that's
But
why
the
you're
people
doing it.
side that you talked about, right, John, that we always emphasize, you want people to be happy and productive. So that's not something to be taken lightly either.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
I'll address it from sort of the office of the CFO or the head of family office, because there's in the financial management platform world. I founded the Cloud Accounting Institute over a decade ago, and we've done research studies on literally hundreds and hundreds of companies who have switched off one of these legacies, a QuickBooks, an old Great Plains, or an old Sage or ACPAC thing. It's first of all, there's two sides of the coin. There's the total cost of ownership of doing something, and then
That's
there's the
correct.
return on investment. So
Right.
you have to overcome the TCO, the total cost of ownership, first, because they're going to look at something and see dollars and lots of dollar signs maybe, and then say, this is the question I almost always get: can I afford to do this? And then I turn the table and say, can you afford not to? And
I
then
know.
you
It's
get
just
into the
coming either way. It's
ROI
already
part
here.
of it.
Yeah.
Because when you start talking about a return on investment, JC measured it. Carmel talked a lot about it. There's the people and the value that they bring, but there's the return on investment, the happiness factor, that they're doing more with their brains than they were doing manually in their prior sort of primitive life, the not the modern platform.
Right.
And so when you talk about it like that, it really makes sense. The CFO, the head of family office, they get it. The president of the company gets it, and they want to move forward with this, even if it's a phased approach. But again, you take everything that we're all saying, it leads itself very, very strongly to this area.
I love that, Lindy. I think you're 100% right about this. You can't afford not to do this. It's just figuring out, again, how you're going to do it, right? It's not the what anymore, it's the how. So Mark, let's go to you and talk cybersecurity angle on that, because I know a lot of family offices are always trying to look at that and say, hey, should we be updating here? What's the return on us doing more? When we're talking about return on investment and doing more with less and really being more efficient, yeah, talk to us about cybersecurity and how that plays into here too, and why
Yeah,
that should.
ROI is always a challenge on preventative measures,
I
right?
know it's hard. Yeah.
You're spending money so that you don't have a disaster down the road in
I
a
know,
lot of
I know. It's
ways.
kind of like insurance, but
Exactly, and that's
your
that's a
tools actually do
good way to
stuff.
think about
Yeah.
it. Most organizations carry cyber insurance policies. If you don't, you really should. And it's not so much about the top dollar amount that they assist you in preventing to have to pay. It's also the resources that those insurance carriers bring to you in the event of an incident. You don't want to be in a situation where you have a data breach or your systems get locked out through a ransomware attack and you're having to figure it out all by yourself. Those like last minute incident responses, having an insurance carrier that you're partnered with makes a lot of sense. We don't do those services, right? We're not an insurance carrier, but I know working with clients who've been through these, that's a very important consideration. When you do those, sign up for those policies, go through the rating, you're answering these big questionnaires about what you're doing to maintain your cybersecurity so that they can rate you. They're going to try and evaluate what is your risk. When your team fills those out, one, you want to be really confident that you're doing everything that you claim to be doing. And also, identify a lot of gaps that exist. And this is the area where you can really hone in on it. But I do want to tell another story in the cybersecurity space. There's a lot of risk in organizations on sort of the scope creep of your IT spend. Cybersecurity is a great way to bring that in and rein it in, because you really want someone to be thoughtfully thinking about all of the IT vendors that you're using and paying to use across your organization from a security standpoint. But this may also be a way for you to catalog all of your vendors and identify areas of redundancy,
I like that, Mark. It gives you
inappropriate
it's a
spend.
different lens to look at your tech stack, so to speak, and see, hey, do I really need these things? Are they really adding value?
Yeah, and this just came to me. I was having a conversation with an organization we were working with. Our goal was just to catalog, right? We weren't thinking of it from a spend standpoint, but the team noticed, hey, you've got multiple vendors in the same areas. Why are you using 3 different people for the same
That
thing?
rationalization is
And
huge
it's,
because you
hey,
don't
that
look at that
department
every
used
day.
this one. No, that doesn't make sense as an organization. So I know that applies a lot more for the larger organizations, but even the smaller ones where you're asking people to go out and solve problems individually, centralizing that gives you a lot of value beyond just reducing your risks.
Yeah, I love that, Mark. And Ken, I saw you come on. You got anything
Yeah.
for us?
Yeah,
Okay.
as we're talking about this, one of the things I thought I'd bring up that often goes behind the scenes on cybersecurity, when you
Yeah.
start doing these audits, it's also not only looking at your platforms, but it's looking at your process, your business continuity. And data breach doesn't just mean from outside in. Someone might
Very
just
good point.
not understanding that they're not supposed to, could be sending data out. And
Unknowingly,
that
right? Yeah,
right.
yeah, that's a really good point.
That's
Yeah.
a great point.
So,
And Kent, that is exactly why when Mark talks about, have a safe place to tell people that they can go use AI is so important, because we've seen folks think they're in a safe place because they pay $20 a month for Chat GPT, so they get the 4.0 model, but it's not secure. And
Sure at
there
all.
are
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are horror stories about this. I mean, one of the most sort of famous one is the guy, and I don't remember if it's Sony or Samsung, but put the latest and greatest TV technology to see what ChatGPT would say about it. Except he just gave all the brand new specs and secret sauce to everyone in the world, right? And that poor guy got fired. He didn't do it on purpose. He was trying to test
right.
something out. But this is why it's so important to have policies, to educate the team, and to give people a safe place to put documents and have it have AI do analysis for you. Because
Really good point.
as Mark said, they're doing it whether we think they're doing it or not. So
That's right.
It's so true. Yeah. Well, let's get into forecasting then. So we see where this is going. We see what we've been talking about, like, hey, this is what you should start looking at now. Get used to it now. But if we talked about needing a roadmap, doing it in phases. So if we're looking out 3, 5, let's say 5 to 10 years out, and I know that's a little hard to prognosticate that far, but let's do it anyway. So we're out there. Where do we see these changes going? Like, why should we, because it matters to make the decision now because of where it's going. So where is it going? So, and let's go. I want everybody to chime in. So let's start with Carmel, because I know you're closest to the heartbeat of AI here, but I love to hear everybody say, hey, where do we think this is going in 2026 and well beyond?
yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing. So we've been talking about generative AI for a few years now, and if you think about generative AI, what does that mean to people? It means you're talking to the AI and asking it questions, right? Like a Chat GPT, Gemini, Copilot. Agentic AI is the thing that's coming up now. That means you're going to be creating agents that will do tasks for you. So you're not going to have to tell it to do so. You're not asking it to do something on a regular basis. You've set it up, and now it's going to go do work for you.
Right. It's like
So
scheduled work. So it's actually a
exactly.
digital worker, right? Yeah.
Yes. And hence the reason that why they call it an agent, right? The agent goes and does stuff for you. So we're seeing that come into the market right now, actually. So that has evolved in the last, 3 to 6 months, where we've been talking about it, but now we're seeing it in the market. So that's here. It's going to continue to evolve. And I think, I liken this the advent of AI, and it's not new, but the general availability of it to everyone now. I liken it to when the internet became available, right? Like
Right.
we had to learn how to use it, and it's evolved. And I think in a few years, there will be some platform players on the AI space that we will gravitate to. So if you think of search engines, right? Google, you Google stuff now, whether you're on Google or not, it's still Googled. But when search engines first came out, nobody's saying I asked Jeeves it, right? Nobody does that. So
no one said that. That's true.
right, that platform sort of, they didn't end up being a top player in the platform. So
no, they didn't work out. They didn't work
yeah.
out.
So we'll see some of that as well. Where and then I think the other thing that we'll see, and we're seeing it already in the market, but it will continue to evolve, is that all of the technology that we're using today they're embedding AI into that technology, and we're going to see some people do that faster than others, and those platforms and solutions will rise to the top, and we're going to have some new players that do it really well and don't have the technical debt because they're brand new, and they end up doing it really well, and they'll be, they'll get market share because they can pivot and move fast. And so we'll continue to see software that we use on a regular basis evolve in that way. And so I think it's really exciting. Like we talked about at the beginning, it's folks that know how to use AI well are going to be really successful. And so we want to educate as many people as we can and get them going on that journey.
I love that. Yeah. So let's chime in. JC, why don't you chime in on that?
So I'm not just going to talk about just AI, but just
Yeah, no,
technology
everything.
in general.
It's broader than that. I agree.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing more and more now is integration, right? So we have a Frankenstein approach, quite frankly, when it comes to family office in terms of technology platforms. There isn't one platform to rule all, that's going to do every single piece of this. So one of the things we do here at Armanino is we have interviews, quite frankly, or demos with technology platforms. At least I'm in there once every 2 weeks, probably, if not once every week. And what I'm seeing is, I'll just take a portfolio management system, for example. 4 firms can be saying that they're doing the same thing in the same product, but they'll have different aspects that they do better than others. And I'm wishing that, hey, if I could put the UI from here and the integration from here, it would be a master product. And what I mean by that is, everything is going to be interconnected because we have this Frankenstein approach, but being able to solve and think through what's your specific use case and how is this going to work within my ecosystem is going to be really, really critical, because the barrier to entry, I think, is getting lower because people are focused on this and you're having a rush of different platforms, different vendors coming out.
And what always comes next? Consolidation.
Well, consolidation, and you're gonna need a partner, quite frankly. At least I wish I did, which is why, John, you and I originally met when I was on the other side, because I needed a healthcare checkup. I inherited a system that is amazing, but quite frankly, I didn't know quite how to use it because I inherited it and I wasn't there from day one.
I mean, that's a good example. You're not alone in that, right? You're not the only guy to come in and have the inheriting systems be like, I don't really know what I'm doing this thing. That's a good point.
I think the analogy we used is like, I'm driving this really expensive car and I just got my license. Like, I'm not sure how to do this.
Don't crash it, dude. Yeah.
Right. And so I think what you're gonna see is more and more consolidation, but a lot of interconnection, right? And I know that sounds silly, but think about it. A lot of our folks here are at RIAs or custodians that purposefully aren't supposed to be connected to anything because they want that security and that safety. And so you're seeing this shift where information sharing in a platform that, quite frankly, is not built that way. So it's been pretty interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, good story. So Lindy, let's go down the row here. Lindy, then Mark. Yeah.
Thank you. Just real quick to the audience, they can find any or all of us on LinkedIn, or Allie can put our email addresses in the chat, but also you can go directly to Kent. Yeah, we're not hard to find, but Kent has our info too. So if you want to reach out to us afterwards, it's great. From my perspective, it's on the accounting, technology platform side. First of all, natural language AI was meant for more of a language. It's getting more and more popular or stronger in the numbers side of things. And so what I'm seeing on the Sage side is they have a GL outlier detector. So for instance,
cool.
if a journal entry posts to rent expense $10,000 a month, 10,000, all of a sudden it's $1 million, that's going to stick out like a needle in a haystack. Intech will actually, automatically identify it, but it will spot trends, it will spot, anomalies, and it will, make the appropriate recommendations to you. So it's getting more into the numbers side. I know Aaron Harris, the CTO of Sage, very well. We all do. And he's all about helping us, sort of accountants in the room to get better information and data using AI. And I totally agree with JC with the automation and integrations as well.
Yeah, I mean it's horsepower, right? These tools are going to go from where they're at now to being really leveled up and doing a whole lot more for you because now they can. So yeah, I mean that's a really good point, Lindy. And Mark, chime in here. What do you see as these tools get more powerful? Obviously, security needs and everything else, those are going to rise too. What do you see? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, there's a couple of trends that I'm monitoring. One, this kind of scary thing you see is an increased use from threat actors of these AI tools for doing false phone calls, false video calls to trick people into doing
Yeah, that stuff's not fun.
making
That's a little
payments.
terrifying. Well, walk us through it, Mark. Make us feel better, please. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so organizations need to put structured processes in place around, especially around payments, but really just educating your staff, educating your wealth owners on the advances in technology. Right now, I think there's a defender's advantage in using some of this new technology. There's a lot of money being spent by Microsoft, Google, and all of the cybersecurity firms out there on developing new technologies. What AI is really good at is finding anomalies, right? Finding things that don't match a pattern. And
Right.
that is really what most cyber threats look like to, from a ones and zeros perspective. And so all of these new tools that come out are the defenders have the advantage today. The bad guys are going to catch up. That's just the reality of how these things happen. They develop a tool to prevent something, give them a couple of years, and the bad guys find a way
So
around.
you're saying it's just going to keep coming. Okay.
It works its way around, but I think you're going to see an evolution to where people are relying, even more heavily on technology, and so organizations just have to stay on top of the news even more than they did before. Everyone has a phishing training where they teach people not to click on bad links, but that's not going to be sufficient 10 years from now. There's going to be some new things that
Right. If you don't know that now, we got
to get into our systems.
We have other conversations we have to have. But yeah, like we're levels above that now.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's a really good point. So let's get into one. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask at any time, guys. We're always happy to take questions from the field really quickly. But I want to go around here, and if we're saying what the top priorities for a family office CFO or executive need to be this year, I'd love to hear from each of you. What are the 1 to 2 top priorities you would tell them? Hey, make sure these are on your list. Why don't we start? Yeah, start with Lindy. There we go.
You know what? It's listen, we all are really good at what we do. In the family office, everybody has a role, and their main role is the president, the CEO, the head of family office, the CFO. They're entrusted with, investing in and supporting and maintaining and growing the wealth of the family. We are consultants, and we are out there seeing many, many, many family offices, and we are and become a trusted partner of our family offices because we can provide information with keep maintaining our confidentiality amongst family offices or in between family offices, but we can bring the trends that we're seeing. We can bring the education to our family offices. Family offices don't need to struggle on their own to find this stuff, whether it's AI, cybersecurity, accounting, technology, outsourcing, different trends. We do a lot in the family office space we haven't even touched upon today.
Yeah.
But going to a trusted partner, this is my advice, a word of wisdom. Find your trusted partner.
I love that. Because you're right. Don't go alone on this journey. There's too many things moving around. As JC mentioned, we're looking at several vendors a week to evaluate them. Like use a third party that can help you and get you through it. So, all right, I love that. Lindy, let's jump to Carmel. What would be your 1 or 2 top priorities or advice you provide?
I mean, I think Lindy's right? And we talked about this at the beginning, how people are not seeing the ROI that they thought they would see, not seeing the value, and that we, as human beings, we get sucked into our day-to-day lives. Having a trusted partner that can facilitate these conversations to help you rethink where you're at and how you take advantage of the technology that is available to you is really important. And it's it's no it's not a matter of if I should adopt some of these things. It's when, right? And how.
Yeah.
Because if you want to stay in the game, this is the way the train is moving, and it's already left the station. So how do you get on, right? So I think one is you got to start,
Yeah.
and two is I completely agree with Lindy. Get a trusted advisor that can help you reimagine the way that you're thinking about the business, whether it's, it's particularly the family office business, because again, you've got a bunch of loyal people there that love what they're doing, but it's really hard to pick your head up and go, I could do this 15 different ways if I just had these tools, right?
Yeah.
So find somebody that can help you do that. It is hugely important, and it's super valuable, and it's not expensive.
Yeah, and it could benefit more than just the family office. I mean, not to go on a sidebar
Absolutely.
here, but we definitely have clients that we've worked with where it impacts the foundation they're attached to, or impacts the
Yep.
holding company or management company they have. So it doesn't have to stay. These are tools that get pervasive, and if you get good at it, you can spread them around to the entire organization or family of organizations and have a larger impact. So,
Exactly.
yeah, JC, why don't you go next? What would be your top priorities or advice you would give a CFO today?
So I agree again with the trusted partner. I'll say it in a different way though. I would say go slow to go fast. So that initial step is you're going to take your time, you're going to assess everything that's within your ecosystem, you're going to have your trusted partner, and then it's going to go really, really quickly. But if you don't take that initial step of taking a deep breath, analyzing what's there, it's not going to be as successful. And the other trend that everyone is just pounding on is either a dashboard or some way to visualize the metrics that are going on within your family office, aggregating all that information from the disparate systems and trying to find a way to make a good informed decision, I think, are the two top priorities that I'm seeing consistently this year.
I love that.
Nice.
Awesome. Mark, chime in with your view.
Say this is the year to ask the hard questions. Are you relying implicitly on someone that's been managing your, whether it's a vendor or someone in-house, managing your security for all this time? Have you really questioned them on what they're doing? Do they have that expertise? If they do, great. What are they doing? They can keep you informed, be in the know. CFOs in particular are being asked even more to, even in public companies, they're being asked to opine on the organization's cybersecurity requirements. Take that responsibility all the way down to your level. What are you doing to protect the wealth of your family, and to protect the reputation of your organization? Ask those hard questions and make sure you're getting good answers. That'll tell you what the next step is. Do you need to look at a new vendor? Do you need to have someone come in and test what they've put in place? That's the most important thing in my mind.
I love that. So let's end on that note. So this is the year you ask hard questions, right? And you use a trusted partner to help you find your way through it if you don't know. And what I'll say, guys, for those who aren't familiar with us, what we like to say about Armanino and the family office space here is that we do everything for family offices but give investment advice. We're not an RIA. We're not going to aim to be one either. But we love helping solve problems, whether it's your tax issues, your estate planning, your outsourcing needs, your technology needs, family office design. I mean, you name it, there's a lot more in it than that. But guys, we're here to help. And hopefully you picked up on the passion today from me and my colleagues on we love solving these problems and we love doing it with all of you. So if you have any questions, please reach out to any of us at any time. Kent, I see you're on. We'll transition it back to you. Thank you for having us today. It's always great to be here with everybody. And thank you for giving us time to talk.
Always a pleasure to have you with us as well. And I'm going to add to what you've been saying. I've spent a lifetime, my career doing implementations, doing technology selection, but often, such as my role at Fox, I have other jobs to do. So when I'm looking to solve this problem, I do exactly the same thing. I go find a third party, a partner, to help us do our implementations. I could do it if I wasn't doing everything else in the world.
Right, but you got other stuff to do.
Well, and it's that key. My view is just my view. I need another view, and I need to do things in a new way. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Everyone, we are going to break now for a few minutes, come back at the top of the hour with FiTech. So we'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Everyone.
Have a good
Thanks,
rest of your
everybody.
week.
Thanks, you too.
Take care.